What's up, guys? Welcome back to From the Ground Up. Today, I want to take a little detour and talk about some recent changes that I've made in my own mindset and how my team operates, and kind of share with you some of those stories and what's been panning out from the shift and everything. And let's get into it. Overall, the whole overarching theme today is saying no, which sounds very generic, and I guess it kind of is. But the big idea around saying no is that if you truly want to move the needle, if you truly want to reach a goal, make a change in your business, or this could apply to your life, this could apply to how you treat the pelvic floor. In general, if you have a goal and you truly want to move the needle, you have to focus, like you have to be like a laser, like a pinpointed laser rather than a flashlight. And that means saying no, right? A laser pointer hits one specific thing, whereas a flashlight kind of illuminates multiple things. And so a laser says no to everything else and yes to just one thing. And that's what I want to talk about today. I want to give you guys some stories about some recent experiences in Genesis and how my team has begun operating and what has come of it. Because the truth is, you cannot say yes to everything, because saying yes to multiple things, to everything, is actually saying yes to literally nothing, not even one of those things. But saying no to most things, most opportunities, most shiny things that might come your way. I know me as a visionary, I'm just like, ooh, shiny object. Here's an opportunity. Here's something else that we can do. And I used to always operate that way. But what I've learned is that saying yes to all of those opportunities is what leads to things like burnout, but also things that just don't get done. Like you just don't achieve the things that you want to set out to achieve. And so saying no to most things is what's actually going to allow you to say yes to the one thing or the couple things that actually matter and that will truly move the needle for your business. So I listen to only a handful of podcasts. Actually, I don't know. I've just never been like the one to make time for podcasts. But since having my own podcast, I'm like, I better listen to some podcasts, right? So I've been listening to Alex Hormozi's podcast, The Game, and he had an episode. This was, I don't know, a couple months back, where he talked about making great sandwiches. And so definitely go hunt down that episode. But he talked about just make great sandwiches. And this episode, I remember listening to it and I remember calling Corey, my business partner, and being like, you have to listen to this episode. Oh my gosh, blah, blah, blah. And she basically was like, I already did. Oh my gosh, my mind is like reeling. This is so helpful, so good, so amazing, everything. But the premise of the episode was getting focused. And in order to get focused, you have to say no. And so Alex used this example of just make great sandwiches. Like if you're a business and you're a sandwich business, literally just make great sandwiches. Don't try and add, a soup. Don't try and add a hamburger. Don't try and add tacos. Like literally just get really, really good at making great sandwiches and you will be successful. But to do that, you have to say no to the people that are like, oh my gosh, like your sandwiches are so good. You should also bring some salad into the mix because, people who like sandwiches tend to like salads. And you have to say no to making salads because you're not a salad company, you're a sandwich company. And I just found that so profound, even though it sounds so simple that like, well, yeah, you're a pelvic floor therapy practice, like just do pelvic floor therapy. But I think we get so caught up in chasing the big dream and the big vision and this idea that like we can do it all and we can achieve it all. And we can do it all and we can achieve it all, but not all at the same time. And I think growth and success takes so much longer than we anticipate it's going to take, right? And so I've learned this in my life in so many ways. I have a zillion stories that are all probably going to come out at some point throughout this whole podcast, but I have so much experience taking on a million things at one time because I am someone that I can multitask. I can achieve things at a faster clip than a lot of people. I've just kind of been like that my whole life. I was a high level athlete, played multiple sports, while I was in, school, college, all the things. So I've been someone who says yes to things simultaneously at multiple times. However, the hard lesson I've had to learn is that when it comes to business, you cannot do that if you want to really actually move the needle and really succeed. You have to just get really good at your one thing, at making great sandwiches, and make great sandwiches for the rest of time. And don't try and become a sandwich and salad and soup company, right? And so one example that he used in this podcast, which is funny because it's not a sandwich company example, but he talked about Raising Cane's. And so I don't know if everyone listening has Raising Cane's near you, but it's a fried chicken company, right? We have it everywhere here in Texas, of course we do. And he used them as an example because they literally on their menu have fried chicken, fries, and like coleslaw and toast. But they have the fried chicken in all the different variations. You can have fried chicken strips. You can have, 3 of them. You can have 4 of them. You can get a fried chicken sandwich, like blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, the recipe's the same. It's their fried chicken recipe. And he pointed out that that's their version of making great sandwiches. They make great fried chicken. And they don't try and add in a hamburger with that. They don't try and add in salads on the side if you want a salad with your fried chicken. They just make fried chicken. And was such the light bulb moment because I was like, oh my gosh, what is my fried chicken? What is my great sandwich? And to the outsider, it's pelvic floor therapy, which is very true. But within Genesis, within my team and my company, yes, we offer pelvic floor therapy, but we've also done so many other things. We have online programs and we have pediatric pelvic floor therapy and we have birth doula services and we have fertility services and we have all these dreams to add all these other streams to our services, which is not a bad thing. But what I've learned is that you can't do it all at one time, first of all. And you have to make sure as you say no to things and as you say yes to the one thing, what is that one thing that you're getting focused on that is actually going to move the needle? And Alex gave this question, actually, this reflection question in that podcast I'm referencing. And it was basically, if you had to pick one thing that you were going to go all in on for the next 3 to 6 months in your business, in your life, that if I balls to the wall did this for 6 months, it will move the needle in my business. It will get me either to achieve my goal or to get much closer to my goal. What would that one thing be? And, he challenged us to reflect on that. And I want you to reflect on that question too and pick the one thing, right? And what does that look like? And chances are it's not some huge, amazing, oh my gosh, I never would have thought of this. It's literally probably, I need to tighten up my sales process or whatever the one thing is that has been in the back of your mind that is holding you back. It's become the bottleneck. Whatever that thing is, it will come to your mind once you actually ask yourself that question and start thinking about, if I went all in on this one thing for 6 months, it will actually move the needle and get me closer to my goals that I've set for myself and for my team and for my company and for my business, right? And so I said a little bit, I'm a visionary. I have historically been more of the flashlight analogy where I'm just I can do it all. I see the future. I live in the future. In my brain, we've already accomplished all of it. So we might as well do it all, right? That's just kind of how my brain operates, I guess. But we have to become this laser and start saying no to everything on the fringes so we can say yes to the one thing. And so I've had to really work hard these past, forever, but specifically 3 to 6 months of this year, learning this concept and more than just intellectually understanding it, but actually, what does that mean to put into action? What does it actually look like for me as a leader to lead my team in this thing? What mindset shift has to be made, but also what action has to be taken in this frame, right? What do I have to say no to? And that's very hard for me because I don't like saying no because I don't like to let people down. And so, I've had to work on this and all of my coaching and all of my therapy and everything like that. But I want to give you guys some real life examples of more recent no's that I personally have said, that my team has said, and kind of walk through some of those stories so you can really understand what that looks like being put into action and the impact that it has on me, on my capacity, on my team's capacity, and ultimately on what we're able to achieve just by saying no to most things and saying yes to what's the one thing. And so, just to go down the list of examples, a few months ago, I was approached with an opportunity from a company that is, you're about to probably know a lot about this company if you work in women's health or even if you are a female. But they are about to fully launch their app, and it is a women's health app where you are tracking your cycles, and it helps you kind of journal your symptoms and things like that. And it can make some nutritional recommendations based on where you're at in your cycle, how you're feeling, what your goals are, all of those things. And actually, their founder and CEO met me for a dinner. We actually had a couple dinners talking about this opportunity, and she presented this amazing opportunity for Genesis to be a founding partner of this app. And we had kind of talked about what that would look like logistically, and essentially it would look like Genesis being, a founding partner as far as pelvic floor coaching and therapy goes for this online app. And we would be able to be kind of this go-to virtual resource for the women on the app. And there would kind of be this check engine light method where it's like women are answering these questions and it's kind of recommending certain things. And, one of those things based on their answers might be you would benefit from seeing a pelvic floor therapist based on this, 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 and this. And so it would funnel everyone to Genesis essentially in our online resources. And on top of that, on top of being a founding partner, she had also offered me to kind of sit on the board as in an advisory role as the pelvic health advisor and have a lot of input and impact on what educational information was going into the app regarding the pelvic floor, regarding how cycles and hormones and everything impact pelvic floor function, and really had this opportunity to become a thought leader in that space by way of being on, in this advisory role with them. And literally, this is the definition of a shiny object, right? This is a definition of me seeing this amazing opportunity, which truly it is an amazing opportunity, and honestly being very drawn to it as a visionary, as someone who wants to change the game, as someone who wants to make the field of pelvic floor therapy different and better and more accessible. It was the hardest part of this is it was aligned with the Genesis vision, right? Our Genesis vision is to increase quality of care and access to our quality of care that we offer at Genesis across the entire world. And a huge way that we are currently doing that and are going to continue to do that is virtual services. So it was aligned with what Genesis is trying to do and what I envision happening in and through Genesis. And so, I really just had to sit with it. And I had already been on this journey of, you need to say no to more things, right? And so I just had this nagging feeling in me that I was like, if you say yes to this, you are committing X amount of hours a month. You never do anything half-assed, right? So if you say yes to this, you are going to go above and beyond the expectations and what's asked of you, which is not a bad thing. That's not a bad trait to have as a human being. But I already have so much I'm doing from the Genesis side and my role as a CEO and what our goals are annually right now, what we're working on building within the company, what I'm doing on the Powerhouse side for my course, for coaching, gearing up for, prepping for 2026 and what that's going to look like. I'm just doing a lot. And so even though this thing was aligned, I still had to ask myself, do I have the capacity to add this on? And because I had already started on this journey of saying no to things so that I could say yes to the one thing, I said no to this amazing opportunity. And it's honestly if you know me at all, that's not like me. I am a yes girl. I am like, yes, I can do it. I can do all the things and I will, and I'm going to succeed at it. And I usually do. However, it takes a lot longer because I'm doing 100 things at one time. And then I'm burning out in the process. And, no one cares about themselves, especially not me. So I'm learning, y'all. I'm learning. So I had to say no to this thing so that I could say yes to what I had already committed to doing in Genesis and what we were doing for our goals, for our team, and for our company. And so that was one example I wanted to share because for me, that's a huge deal. I said no to a very shiny object that I otherwise probably would have immediate yes, sign me up. When do I start? I start right now. Okay. Another example is actually in Genesis. This is kind of within our company and our leadership team decision making here. So, like I said, we are pelvic floor therapy, right? But we are across the lifespan. We see pediatrics, we see women, we see men, we see post-op, we see people up to 120 years old, right? It's like from birth to death, we will see you for your pelvic floor concerns. And that has always been us. It always will be us. And a lot of our thought process over the past year to 2 years has been, well, how can we, revamp the different sectors of the business? One of them, for this example, being the pediatric services sector, right? Because we do offer pediatric services. We have pediatric therapists and all the things, but it's never really been, built out within the company and within our services as like a side of the company or an arm of the company. It's always just kind of been a thing that we do if it kind of comes up. Maybe we're treating a mom and she's talking about, her kid and the kid's bedwetting at night or something. We're like, oh, well, we have, therapists that treat that stuff. And, we might throw out some social media posts. It's on our website, but it's never been built out as like this portion or section of Genesis with its own strategy, its own team lead, its own vision for that part of the company, like some of our other sectors have done. And we really, a couple of our pediatric therapists had come to us a few times and they really want this thing built out and everything. And it's not that we don't want to build out the pediatric side of Genesis as its own kind of arm. We very much do. But what we had to decide as a leadership team is this the one thing that if we go all in right now in this quarter, and if we go all in and really focus on the pediatric side, is that the thing that's going to move the needle and help us reach our annual goal, our 3-year goal, our 10-year goal? And we had to say, it's not. It's not the thing right now. And just because we're saying no to that right now doesn't mean it's a no forever, right? It's not the one thing right now that we needed to say yes to help us stay on track and reach our goals by the end of the year. And so that was hard because we had to let some people down on the pediatric side of the team who were excited about this potential revamp and really pushing the pediatric side of things. And like they're passionate about it. And that makes me passionate about it. And it's just hard to say no, but it's so important because you have to keep the bigger picture of the company in mind. And you have to ask yourself, what's best ultimately for the company. And you also have to trust that what's best for the company is best for your people. Because I've been in this cycle of this trap. Well, if I don't say yes to every ask that I get, if I don't cater to every desire, every need, every question that comes up, then it's harming them or, they're not getting what they want out of their job or out of their role or whatever. And so in the early days of Genesis, I did that. I would say yes to everything because I want people to enjoy their jobs and what they're doing here, right? However, what I've had to learn is that saying yes to every single ask in the company from your team members that you do love and you do care about doesn't always align, or it doesn't always mean it's what's best right then, right now for the business as a whole. And on a flip side of that, what truly is best for the business as a whole, even if it's not as flashy or fun as revamping the pediatric pelvic floor side of things, what's truly best for the company and the team and the business right now is going to be best for the people as well. Because when you're doing the things and saying yes to the one thing that is best for the business right now, that is you leading and being the team captain, right? And saying, I hear you and I have other knowledge, right? As a leader, I have other knowledge that the team doesn't always have. And so, it's I hear you and I am going to say no right now because I have to say yes to this other stuff that ultimately is strengthening the company, protecting the team, helping us reach our goals, which that is the stuff that big picture, holistic, long-term culture wise is going to impact your people more than you just saying yes to their asks all the time, right? In the short term, giving them those short-term yeses. So that has just been a hard thing to learn is you got to say no. You got to say no to the people, even though you care about them because you care about them, right? Even though in the moment it might feel hard to say no to their ask because you want to be so happy. So in doing that, we were able to say yes to a bigger quarterly goal that we knew if we freaking do this thing, it will, without a shadow of a doubt, move the needle. So we will be one step closer to reaching or even exceeding our annual goals. And that was a big deal. A third example I want to give, because it's a big one and it is a more recent one, is we actually have pulled out of Genesis, Colorado. And so, if you follow me on social or anything like that, you might have seen this. It's not a secret by any means, but we actually mutual decision between me and Corey, my Genesis partner, and then Amelia, who was our Colorado partner. We made a kind of a mutual decision to dissolve Genesis from being in that, from being in the brand. And so kind of removing the Genesis brand, removing Corey and I from the operations of it, from the leadership of it, and just kind of dissolving that. And then, Amelia is now going to take over and own it and be the thing. And we're going kind of our separate quote unquote ways. And that is a huge no. And again, anyone who knows me knows how proud I am that we went across state lines, that I had an employee who believed in Genesis so much that she asked years ago, hey, like Dallas is not my forever home. We are going to be moving to Denver one day, and I would love to take Genesis with me because I care about what we're doing. I care about this team. I care about our vision, our mission, our values, everything, and I want to take it there. And so I have shared that story a lot of how meaningful that is and how that matters to me so much and like my legacy and the vision of Genesis and everything. And so to just, 1 year in, turn around and say no to an outsider, I've gotten the question a ton, what happened? Did she quit? Did y'all fire her? Whatever, whatever. And I'm like, first of all, no, because we were all business partners in this business. You don't fire a business partner, right? So absolutely not. And what people have trouble understanding is my true answer is I needed to say no to continuing down that path of expanding across state lines for big picture, big vision Genesis. Like I just had realized this year, truly, if I truly want this big vision of Genesis where everyone has access to this quality of care that we're providing, I used to think that meant I have to open a brick and mortar everywhere. Now I've learned absolutely not. I've learned we're going to, stay tight and strong in DFW, and we have other plans of how that we're getting out there. That includes virtual services, online programming for pelvic floor, and a whole other slew of things that I could go on and on and on and on and on about my 3 to 5 year plan, y'all. So just stay tuned. It's going to be coming up, I'm sure, in the coming podcasts and months and years and everything. But ultimately, I learned and I realized that this thing that I did love and this person that I did love and what we were doing just no longer was aligned with the bigger vision. And we all, talked about it at multiple meetings, and we all kind of came to the conclusion that, we were just going to part ways, and Genesis would pull out and Amelia would, keep her patience. And, we wanted her to be set up for success. We helped her with the transition logistically. She went ahead and rebranded with, her new name, her logo, everything like that. She moved to a new location because the lease was up and everything. And, we weren't just going to say, oh, well, good luck. We own the patients because we're Genesis. Like, no, like it wasn't like that at all. It was, we still love her. We're still very much in touch with her. I'm going to her grand opening party and like all the things. And it just, I don't know. It's hard to, as an outsider, see that and wonder, and not wonder, I should say, like, what went wrong when really nothing went wrong. It just wasn't aligned with with what I saw the future of Genesis being. And so in order to reach that, right, in order to say yes to the big Genesis vision that I had gotten more clarity on and more alignment on, I had to say no to that one thing, which was a big thing and a meaningful thing and a hard thing. But I feel glad that we did it and we're moving forward and it's going to be great to infinity and beyond, right? So, with those few examples, saying no to the founding partnership with this amazing app, and then saying no internally in Genesis right now to really revamping and building out a pediatric program within the company, and then closing the doors to Genesis Colorado and Genesis pulling out and letting Amelia kind of take it and run with it, right? Like saying no to all of those things. And there's, a dozen other examples I could go on to, but for the sake of time, there's my examples. Saying no to those things has allowed us to fully say yes and lock in to the thing that we knew was going to move the needle for us right now to help us reach our, annual goals. And it's not sexy. It's not cute. That one thing, y'all, was literally like locking down our systems and operating procedures, our processes and things like that this quarter in Genesis, documenting them and like creating, this handbook, if you will, of what are our procedures and starting to just write everything down of how we do what we do. It sounds so simple, whatever I'm saying right now. It's like, y'all are probably like, you didn't have that already? Girl, no. I am a visionary. I didn't write anything down. I just go. I just say yes and I go. So that is what we had to say yes to because my leadership team was literally like, we're drowning, we need it. Like, and even Corey, of course, she's my how girl, right? She's been saying for years now, like, we are going to implement systems and processes. And like, we're finally doing it because that's the thing that is going to move the needle and get us closer to our goal. And so we were able to do that without distraction, without us being pulled in a million directions. We knew this quarter what our focus was. We were able to lock in. We each had kind of our rocks and our goals centered around this one thing that we were all saying yes to. And, we had a couple speed bumps in the road. We had some website things go wrong and some various things in the middle of kind of finessing all these processes. But for the most part, like, it went so good. And this was like the first time that I really feel like we set a goal and we accomplished a goal. That goal being we're going to lock in and get documentation of our processes. And so it's not always flashy and a fun one to say yes to. Like, it sounds more fun to be like, oh, I'm on the advisory board. I'm the pelvic health advisor for this amazing app that's about to be so famous. And Genesis is a founding partner, right? Like, that sounds so cool. Okay. But it is not the thing right now that was going to move the needle. And so that is my big thing that I want you guys to take away is that all you have to do is make really great sandwiches. Get really, really good at what you do. Know what is the one thing that you do and do better than everything else. And then only say yes to the things that are going to allow you to keep doing that thing. If you want to truly move the needle, if you want to truly grow your business, help more people, you have to be laser focused, not flashlight, right? You have to be a laser. And it's just not about doing more. And that's something I've had to learn. It's not about doing more. It's not about adding all these more services and all the adding an online side of the business like so many people want to do. And I could literally go on and on about that because I've tried to do that, y'all. It is not easy. And it's just not about that. It is about doing one thing at a time and making really great sandwiches, doing your thing better than everyone else and giving it all you've got for that one thing. And so, yeah, if you've been in a season of crazy, as I have been, if you've been in a season of crazy, this is what it looks like to do less. You literally do less things. You say no to things so you can do less things, which allows you to do more for the one thing that matters, the thing that is going to move the needle. So I want to challenge you guys to ask yourself, if I went all in for 3 months or 6 months on one thing, what would that one thing be that would move the needle in my business or get me closer to my goals? Or, if it's a personal goal of your education or what you're trying to learn as a clinician or something like that, like, what is the one thing that if you go all in for 3 months or 6 months on that you can say, if I did that, I'd get it. Like, I would achieve it. I would get that goal. Like, yes, that would be the thing. just, maybe reflect on that and maybe give it a little try. And then DM me on Instagram and tell me what your one thing is so I can cheer you on. I would love that. And then, of course, please share this episode, y'all. This is how we get the word out for how we're changing the game is sharing it. And it means the world to me when you guys screenshot it, when you share it to your stories, when you tag me at Dr. Becky Pelvic PT. It literally makes my day. So I love it when y'all do that. And it would mean the world to me to see those tags. So y'all have a great rest of your day and let's change the game.